All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video touching on the Sunday night football game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Las Vegas Raiders. So looking at the game preview for this game, we are seeing that this game is going to be a close game, which is a good thing here. 2.5 is the point spread. The over and under is set at 42.5. So kind of a decently high scoring game. That is all going to be good things for us, I think, for the Showdown slate. And so for this game, guys, we may not be getting that free square value play that we have gotten the past few slates with Jerome Ford and Ronnie Bell. Hopefully you guys were able to take advantage of that. Actually, we've had really great value plays for you guys on both the Showdown slates and the main slate. Fun run there. As we get further on into the season, the edge that I have by paying attention during preseason and watching, preseason film and whatnot is going to be reduced more and more. So I do really hope you guys have been able to take advantage of that. Fun Showdown slates thus far. And I will say, let's just start out with what could be the value play. I don't like it. We're probably not touching it, but I would say it would be Wilkerson. Wilkerson is someone that does not have a target yet, and that's the worry. And with Jacoby Myers back, it really is not going to be a play that really makes that much sense. But for what it's worth, when we're just looking at the snap counts for the Las Vegas Raiders, Wilkerson ended up with like 80% of the snaps last week, and he was a direct replacement for Jacoby Myers. Now, in the other game, he still got a decent amount of snaps in week one at 22%. I just want to call out the difference here. Is that the difference in the snaps between, let's say, Hunter Renfrow and Wilkerson price-wise is the what I really want to call out? Because we'll see Wilkerson basically at the min price, whereas Hunter Renfrow, he's really high priced up there. Like, that should not be happening. That's just a strange thing there. Trey Tucker is going to be someone that does get involved a little bit. They like him, a speedy guy, but not to be considered for DFS there. Zamir White maybe will spell Josh Jacobs a little bit. We have seen Meyer play a decent amount. Will he get a target or anything? I don't think so. Like, the thing with the Raiders is it's very much a funnel in terms of who we should be on. Now, maybe Amir Abdullah gets a little third down work and whatnot. Maybe there's a value there, but it's very much a funnel of who we should be on. Okay, let's start with the play I think is going to be the best play. I hate the pricing. Is going to be Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers had a very big game one. I don't really feel like that's a mistake. I feel like that's something we are going to consistently see is good production out of him. Obviously, we're not expecting that massive game that he had, but the high receptions, the high targets with kind of the low yardage is what we saw him exactly do in New England. And with Josh McDaniels there, like, he brought him over to play that exact role in that offense. So he's a play that I think we'll just firmly be playing considering his price tag. And then I do think we just have to be trying to find a way to fit Devontae Adams into our builds. Now, like I said, we don't have as good of values as we had previous slates, but I do think he's going to be one of the best plays that we get. He's playing 90% of the snaps. We know he's going to get targeted heavily as well. We want to be playing both of them. My biggest issue with doing that is I don't want to play Jimmy G. He hasn't looked good. I think, like, really the best outcome for him would be 20 DraftKings points, but really, if he has a good game, I would say this is going to be his good game. Like, that was his good game. That's his indication. For what it's worth, Josh Jacobs does get his best matchup of the year thus far going against Pittsburgh. That being said, I don't know what we can really expect from him. Teams have really been saying, all right, Jimmy G, beat us through the air. If you can do that, you guys will win. So they're really trying to stop the run with Josh Jacobs now. He is due for a big game. He looks like his same self. Like, nothing different with him. They're going to find ways to get in the ball, and they're going to find ways to get in the ball in open space like they did last week against Buffalo. 6 targets, 5 receptions, 51 yards. That's there. But I will say, I do think that was partially there because Jacoby Myers was out. They had to use him in that way because Jacoby Myers was out. So probably a little bit closer to this stat line, but 19 carries. This will probably be like 70 yards, which is what his over and under is at. And if that occurs, he is someone that we probably should be looking at. But to me, guys, that's really it for the players that we want to be on for the Raiders. Now, maybe Raiders defense a little bit with Kenny Pickett really struggling, and maybe even the kicker, Carlson. We know he has a big leg. Could potentially be looking at him, but let's go ahead and switch up and get to the Steelers. So the biggest struggle with the Pittsburgh Steelers is that they are splitting up the workload between Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. And I kind of feel like their value really depends on the game script. Like, if it's a positive game script for the run game, then I think Najee Harris is going to be the one, probably playing about 60% of the snaps. And you would say this is by far his easiest matchup on the slate or of the year thus far. And for anyone in week 3. And he hasn't, I know he gets a lot of shit, but he really hasn't looked too bad this year, at least. And it does seem like at the start end of the game, not looking good, and then figures it out at the tail end of the game. He's like a very, very, very poor man's version of Derrick Henry, where as the game goes on, he kind of wears out a defense. And they might actually be able to implement that kind of offensive style because maybe the game will be close enough where they're not playing from behind the whole time. Obviously, that game against Cleveland, they were playing from behind the whole time. Got a little bit lucky with some sloppy mistakes by Deshaun Watson. That being said, said, Harris is going to be a good play, but I think logically speaking, just given the snap share difference of about, let's say 55 for Najee, 40 or so percent to Jaylen Warren, I think it just makes more sense to target Jaylen Warren, who we know is going to at least be productive in the passing game as well, has the upside to break some big plays. We did see, Jerome Ford have that big cutback and that big play there. That's more of what I guess Jaylen Warren would be able to do rather than Najee Harris. Najee Harris gets tackled probably after 30 yards rushing there. But really the plays that we're probably looking at here are going to be George Pickens. He was heavily involved, 10 targets in that game, 7 targets in the previous game. And the Steelers pass catchers do really draw a good matchup. Now we don't expect 100 yards receiving. We don't expect a TD as well, but he looked good. And you do just think they're going to try to force feed him the football. So he is someone that I'm just looking at and plugging and playing. From there, I do really think Calvin Austin is going to be the next best play that we are getting. I was hoping that he'd be a little bit cheaper because he wasn't that productive. Turns out DraftKings is actually being sharp for once and not giving us a free square. He played in 70% of the snaps, 70+% of the snaps last week, had 4 targets. A bigger game was there for him. And if you look at his over and under receptions, it's set at 2.5. Vegas is actually favoring the over there. So Calvin Austin is looking like a pretty good play. If he can get 3 receptions for even like 20 yards, that's 5 DraftKings points. At this price tag, we'll take that. But I think this is going to be a really good matchup. And I just don't see how they just don't try to get him more involved. Okay, he looked good. And obviously week 1 had a pretty good game. So he's going to be the one I'm looking at there. So the issue that I have is that we do want to be playing one of these 4, I would say, in the captain spot. Considering I want to fit Devontae Adams into my builds, I will go with Austin for now. Try to get lucky with a touchdown. Guys, we are really pushing our luck with that one. We've kind of crushed it with the captain's picks thus far. Pushing our luck there with Calvin Austin, it feels like. From there, Jaylen Warren we could go with, and then we do still have a decent amount of salary left over. The issue that we have here is it might be a little bit of a dead range here at 7.9. Like, I don't want to play any of those guys, so maybe we can adjust our captain's pick a little bit, so go down from Calvin Austin. Maybe we can get Jacoby Myers in there. Let's take a peek. And then we still have 5.7 left over. I guess you could go with Steelers defense. I don't exactly like that build, so still some salary left over. Let's see what else we can do. And guys, I don't like the idea of fading Josh Jacobs. I do think we want to be trying to play him. I just don't know if that's going to work with our lineup construction. So there we go. We got Adams, we got Austin, we got Myers, we got Pickens, we got Warren, and then whatever, fill in with one of the kickers. I'm fine with that. Fill in with the Raiders defense. I'm fine with that. That works for me. We'll go with Carlson for now. Wish we could get up to Josh Jacobs. And if we were to try to get up to Josh Jacobs, maybe going off of Warren and then once again going with like Carlson. Like that does work as well. Not a terrible lineup path. But that's going to be all for this video. If you guys want access to the NFL DFS lineup optimizer, it is available on the 95sports.com website for just $10 a month. Let you be able to make your builds for the Sunday Night Football slate. That's all. Let's have a good slate. As always, let's keep cashing.